Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's traditionally inspired meaningful art made by yours truly, and I'm really excited to have you here. I just wanted to give you some updates on what I've been working on recently. If you want to see what I've been wearing for the month of May, over on my Instagram at Tima_Made, you'll be able to see what I've been wearing daily. So I've been posting it up in my stories, and also I have a highlight that you can go and view. So feel free to go and take a look there. You can keep up with all the makes, past and present, and it's a really nice way to kind of see how I incorporate them into my day-to-day life. So hopefully you've been enjoying those if you've already joined me. And I've also been having polls on there for different things that I'm making to get some help from the community as far as, you know, buttons and trims and things like that. So it's been a lot of fun. What I am wearing today, it is incomplete, but I am wearing my Very Easy, Very Vogue 9149 dress. This was in my spring plans, and I have made it up for the most part. There are some things that it's missing, like I haven't put the buttons on yet. There's a lot going on with this dress. I have been documenting the making process over on my Instagram, so you can definitely go and check it out. There is a sewing vintage highlight that sort of documents all of this. But I was adamant about omitting the zipper in the back. I was able to do that. I added width so that it would fit me and be a bit looser. And in doing so, I closed up the center back seam with a French seam. Because this has a tie in the front, I thought that this section here, this opening, would be enough for me to put my head through. And as I was initially testing it out in the making process, it felt like, oh, I can kind of do it. I'm wiggling a little bit, but it's fine. When I finished it all up, put the facing in for these ties and had hand stitched everything, as far as the facing is concerned, it was so tight and uncomfortable to try and fit over my head. So then I decided, okay, I have the French seam in the back. I've already hand stitched the facing down. I don't think I can undo that. So just go ahead and put a little V in the front so that you can slip it over, which it does help. I can now put it over my head, but that means that there is this gap here. And I fully lined this dress from the dress section, like underneath the yoke all the way down. And now I feel like every time I wear it, I'm going to have to wear something under it, like I'm doing today, so that you don't see my skin in this little peephole, because I can't guarantee that it's going to stay flat, which sort of defeats the purpose. Like, I lined it so I wouldn't have to wear and layer things under it. So I'm really kicking myself, because as soon as I did that, I thought to myself, you know, had I not done the French seam and closed off the back, I could have just as easily done a keyhole opening in that yoke section here with a button or a hook and eye closure at the top. And I don't know why I didn't think of that. That would have been so much easier. Another thing that's grinding my gears at the moment, I feel like the length of the sleeve is just a smidge short. I wish it was maybe an inch longer so that the cuff rests at my wrist the whole time. I feel like I have to maneuver it to have it sit at my wrist, otherwise it looks more bracelet length on me. I have been fiddling with the bottom hem to try and level it off, so I need to do that. And in order to get the length at a decent place, I am going to use this edging trim that I had picked up in Guinea when I went a couple years ago, and I'm going to use that at the bottom. I think it's a good match color-wise, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I was also contemplating adding a bit of that trim to like the wrist here, to see if that will help me lengthen it a little bit. So I might fudge around with that and see. I have this much of the fabric left, and I am thinking about doing a continuous bias binding out of it and then making some ties to insert here at the waist so that I can have a bit of shaping. I think I like the dress more if it has a little bit of shaping, but instead of having to always find a belt to coordinate. The next thing that I was sewing up are the pajamas for my children. So I'm using Simplicity 1572 and I'm making the sort of like full-on onesie set. This pattern goes from size 3 to 6 and I made sizes 5 and 6 for my children. That meant that it was extremely big width-wise. My kids are very slim, so it's very wide on them. But I needed the length. So in the future, like I could have gotten away with maybe cutting like a size 4 and just lengthening it to the sizes 5 and 6, but it's absolutely fine. They've worn it. My daughter keeps asking like, where are the pajamas? Where are the pajamas? And I am going to give it to them very soon. I had them try it on, so I'll insert an image of what it looks like on them. I did different ribbings so that they would be able to differentiate whose is whose. And the only reason I haven't completely given it to them yet is because I feel like I want to add like a binding around the neckline. I've been using my daughter's bingo onesie for a lot of the sort of details that I wanted to add to this that aren't included in the pattern already. So for example, this is the binding that I'm talking about. They sort of create almost like a bias binding out of the knit fabric to cover the serged edge, and I want to do that. I just don't know how fiddly that's going to be. Another design detail that I borrowed from this ready to wear onesie was that they added a zipper shield to the inside to protect from the zip here. So I went ahead and did that for my kids' onesies as well because that was not included in the pattern. So I created this zipper shield to protect from the zipper, which I think was so nice. Those are the two onesies. I have more pajama like garments that I'd cut out of that fabric. I have pants, I have a pants and top for my youngest, and some other things that I was able to cut out of the yardage that I had left. So it'd be nice to finish these. I will be honest, this has not been like an enjoyable or I'm excited to make this make. I have just been doing it to get it out of my sewing room and get it out of my queue of makes. It makes me really happy that like my daughter keeps asking for the pajamas, so I definitely want to finish them and give them to her and to my son, but it's really the finishing. I do not like finishing off knit garments. I find it very fiddly. I, in my mind, associate knits with quick and easy makes. And when I have to finish them with like a zigzag stitch or fold it over and top stitch things down, will I put in my double, like my twin needle? Will I not? There are so many things that I maybe add to the process that might not be necessary because I'm thinking of like longevity. If they finished it and it was in good condition, would I feel comfortable giving it to another person? That's usually my mark of like, did I make this well? And I just feel like there's so many steps involved that then don't make it the quick and easy make that I initially thought it was going to be, and it drives me nuts. So I'm just trying to finish these so I get them out of my queue of makes, but it has been something that I've been having to like force myself to finish and not, oh, I can't wait to go down and sew it. You know, it's just been a different feeling. The gorgeous Butterick 3908, that darling dress over there, is still waiting for buttons and buttonholes. I put up a poll on my Instagram stories about which buttons I should put on the dress. So I had about 5 different options. So the votes are in. Majority of people voted for this beauty here. It is a spherical button with a gold stripe going through it. It's sort of pearlescent. So now that I've determined what buttons I'm making, it should be like fairly straightforward. I will say though, on this dress, the buttonholes are going horizontally, where I'm used to putting in my buttonholes vertically, and I have not decided which direction I'm going to do them in. I think one of the things that I'm going to consider is where I have the piping at the waistline, if I can get my buttonhole foot to sew a button successfully that close to all of that bulk. And if not, if I'm like, you know what, don't even risk it, then I'll do them horizontally, because then I think I shouldn't have to worry too much about my buttonhole foot being upset with me. I hope that made sense, yeah? The final thing that I just sewed up last night is a toile for my little cousin. My cousin would like me to make her a dress for Eid al-Adha. That's the second Eid that's coming up in about 2 weeks. So we were working on the toile for that last night, and we considered a couple of different things. Initially, she wanted an abaya with like a dress under it, but she changed her mind. She had this dress, which was made for her back in Guinea, that she had a couple years ago, with a very beautiful voluminous sleeve that ties at the end. They incorporated that contrasting fabric up in the top yoke at the front, and it has princess seams and a half circle skirt at the bottom. And then princess seams in the bodice here below the yoke section. So she wanted a dress similar to this instead. We went back through our patterns, and for homecoming, like 2 years ago, I had made her this navy dress. And it has princess seams, not from the shoulder, but here at the bust line. But it has pretty beautiful shaping. I think we had borrowed the sleeves from S1572. So we might do something similar and just add the tie feature to the end here, but it does have the puffy sleeve, so that's really nice. All in all, it has decent shaping for her, and we had already sort of cut out her size. When we made this, because she wanted a feature where it ties up at the side, I did widen a lot of the pattern pieces so that we would have that extra room, so that it would make sense to like tie it to cinch it in. But we won't need that for this dress. So last night I spent some time removing all of the excess that I had added to the pattern pieces so that we could cut out a toile, and we were able to cut out a toile in this cotton fabric that I had thrifted a while ago. It's become like my toile fabric. I went ahead, I write on this, we put in a zipper really quickly just to check for fit. I'm only toiling the bust because that's really the area that we need to make sure has a good fit. What I'm going to do then, once we know the length of where we want it to end under her bust, is to do a half circle skirt. I think we cut out the size 16 in this pattern, and I marked the areas where we want to take it in a bit at the side seam and in the front princess seam under the bust, just so it's a really nice fit and a great silhouette for her. So that is the toile done. Here is the fabric that she is using for the outside. It is sort of like a brocade jacquard fabric. Beautiful colors there. She wanted to pull out a more unexpected color from this pattern for her contrast. So we had gone to G Street Fabrics, and she picked out this sort of ivory color. It picks out a bit of the coloring that's in there. So this will be the contrast fabric that we use for the dress. She has 4 yards of this, the main fabric here, and 2.5 yards of this. The yardage that she purchased was when we initially thought she was going to do an abaya and a matching sort of underdress. So I think we have way more than we need in this ivory fabric, but it is okay. And hopefully I can get that half circle skirt out of here. I might have to seam some of the pieces together because she is tall, but I'm excited to do it. Not excited to work with this fabric though. It's going to shed like crazy. It's already shedding and fraying all over the ends. Like every time she buys fabric, it's the worst thing for my sewing room. So that's a good segue. As I mentioned, we went to G Street so that she could find the contrast fabric for that printed fabric she had ordered online, and as I was looking for some options for her, found some things for myself. When I went to G Street Fabric earlier this year, I was looking for a fabric to pair with this tablecloth that I thrifted years ago. And I love it so much. It's so intricate and beautiful and amazing, but has a lot of dead space through it. And I wanted to find a fabric to put behind it. My hope of hopes would have been that I could have found like a lightweight cotton, lightweight viscose fabric in a matching color, but I was not able to find that. What I did get instead was this fine rib knit fabric in the same color. Having like a cotton voile or something else would have just been a little bit lighter, so this would make it just a little, like a smidgen heavier, but I am happy that I found a colorway that I can work with. Yeah, I think I purchased 3.5 yards of this. I found all of the fabrics that I'm about to show you in the dead stock section, sort of their $3.97 section. And it's just $1, but when you're getting like 10 yards of fabric, I didn't know how much I would notice the increase in price from $2.97 to $3.97. Again, it's just $1, but literally, like, when they told me what my total was, I was like, what did I get? And I was like, oh, it's like $10 more because you have to add it up, girl. Anyway, the other fabric that I got was 3 yards of this satiny charmeuse fabric. I fell in love with the print and the colors on here. I'm gonna be honest with you though. As soon as I got home, immediately regretted purchasing this fabric. Not because there's anything wrong with the fabric, but because I have beautiful silky charmeuse-like fabrics in prints that I absolutely love. And while I feel like this will one day fulfill its destiny and become something hopefully lovely, I didn't need it. I'm definitely having stronger feelings of like regret after I buy fabric these days than I used to. So I'm being mindful of that. There have been multiple times recently where I get something and I'm like, not just in a passive, like, I'll get to it one day, but like, I really am like, I wish I didn't buy that. That's how I was feeling. The other thing that I got was this white broderie anglaise fabric, this embroidered cotton and this white. I just want to make a lightweight blouse with this, something that is not a button-up top. I find that every single time I'm trying to make a top, I go for a button-up, but I would just like something that I can pull on over my head, maybe that has a keyhole opening in the back, something light, easy, breezy, and I thought that this would make a fabulous top. I got 2 yards of it. There was a bit of staining on the fabric, so they only charged me for 1.5 yards of this because of that stain. Hopefully it does come out in the wash, but I thought that that was very generous of them. So let's talk plans. I have my little basket here with all of the things that I have either already cut out during my spring plans or have in the queue to cut out. I would really like to get the Simplicity pants pattern sewn up. This is Simplicity 9756. I think they have potential to be wonderful. I'm looking for my favorite pair of elastic waist pants. This one has side seam pockets, a drawstring waist, and a pretty wide waistband. So I'm excited about it. I've seen the versions that people have posted on Instagram. They're great. It's a nice wide leg. So I'm hoping to really enjoy it. Once upon a time, I told you all I lost the pocket and waistband pattern pieces. I did find them. They were in another pattern envelope. I did find them and I was able to cut that out. I would like to finish this. I can't wait for it to be made, but I'm not excited about making it, but I know it will be an enjoyable sew. All of those things can be true. Now, a project that I am super excited to get to work on, I think it's the fabric. It is this McCall's skirt pattern. It is 8150. I am going to make the 4-tiered maxi length version out of this beautiful rayon batiste fabric that I picked up at Mood Fabrics years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And I'm very excited to use it up. It is just so beautiful with these birds and the foliage and all of the things. So I want to make the 4-tiered maxi length skirt. And this one, like, I am excited to work with the fabric. I can't wait to see it made up. I can't wait to twirl around in it, while the other pants I feel like are going to be well worn and amazing and very useful in my wardrobe. But it's black linen, so it ain't got nothing on this, okay? I'm excited about it. Other things that live in this basket include all the pairs of leggings that I cut out for my swimsuit. I wanted to make some modest swimwear this summer, so I have McCall's 7122. I use View E, the single pattern piece leggings from this pattern envelope. I cut out, I think, 3 leggings. Again, am I excited to sew them? No, I just want it out of my queue. To pair with that, I wanted to make some tops. So I have McCall's 7417. I want to do a version similar to version D. I guess some folks might wear this as like a rash guard. So I would just like to have it made up. So all of these different swimwear pieces are just out of the stash. The final thing that I think as a spring make I would love to have is a Zadie jumpsuit. I don't know when spring ends, but all of these things are okay to roll right into summer. I don't mind at all. As if my sewing room was not a hot mess enough, let me show you something that I brought into the sewing room because I just needed to figure it out quickly. If you're not new to this channel, you would recognize this fabric. I had made some table runners out of this fabric in 2018 for my brother's traditional wedding. I have this fabric and had once upon a time made a ton of flounces from it because I painstakingly cut out the circle motif from the fabric and then connected them by French seaming the whole thing into just like yards and yards of flounce. Now, what I noticed was that the depth of the flounce was so shallow that I didn't really feel like I could do or use it in the way that I would want to in a garment. So I've been toying around with this idea of doubling up the flounce, but I didn't know how that would look and how it would work. And it's been like in my mind, living rent free nonstop. Like, would that work? How would I do it? What's the, So I did it. I tested it out and here it is. It takes quite a while. It took me a while to do even just this short section here. But I think this depth, like, a flounce is definitely a bit more workable in the ways that I want to sort of incorporate it into a skirt that I want to make this summer. The amount of ruffling at the bottom of here is intense. It's extreme. And I also like when they sort of separate and they just spiral, so I might incorporate this into it as well. I was trying to figure out how would I hem the bottom of these. I think I'm going to do it the narrow rolled hem on my serger to finish off the ends. One of the biggest issues that I had with the skirt that I began making some time ago was the print placement. So when I had initially cut this out, I did a nice like elasticated waistband, so it makes it fit really nicely. It has a metal zip in the center back, so that's fine. But in the back, these circles land right on my backside. And I don't like that. It's like a bullseye on my behind, and I don't like that. I don't think that's a good look. My hope was to distract the eye by adding flounces and frills and drape things over and do all the things. And I feel like I'm trying to overcompensate to like make sure something is there to cover that up. I had also picked up this embroidered cotton when I was in Guinea, and I feel like it picks up a little bit of that teal. It's not an exact color match, but they're close. And I was trying to figure out if I could incorporate this somehow in the design to, again, camouflage that section with the two circles. I haven't decided yet, but that was a big distraction. I think when I was working on this vintage dress and I was just getting annoyed with certain aspects, I was like, you know what? Let me pull out my flounce and figure out how to do that. So it was a big distraction, but a good one because it at least lets me know where I'm headed a little bit. I'm hoping to make like an Ulla Johnson inspired skirt. I like her design aesthetic, particularly her like 2017, 2018 runway shows and collections. I really enjoy that. So I'm trying to channel that aesthetic for this skirt. Lots of ruffles, lots of drama, unnecessary, fun, flirty, great. So that's what I'm hoping to do there. Almost forgot to share this. Yesterday, I was in the car. My little cousin's learning to drive, so I got to be a passenger. I unpicked this bodice. If you've been here for a couple of years, you would have remembered that in 2022, I made a wedding guest dress that just never saw the light of day. I ended up wearing something else, but I'd used New Look 6667. I love that bodice pattern. I love the neckline of it, and I added the sleeves from Simplicity 8875 and elongated them, made them super voluminous. This is a fabric that I had thrifted. It kind of feels like a heavier weight, like a viscose crepe fabric, and has this darling design printed all over it. I wanted to highlight a bit of that blue by adding this striking, like contrasting detail. I made a ton of really thin bias binding out of this silk fabric and then added it with top stitching all around. Ugh, it was such tedious work. I lined it on the inside with the most cooling like red rayon fabric. Anyways, I had removed it from the skirt a long time ago, but it's just been sitting around, and I actually think I could make this into a top that would be worn a bit more. Well, even if I wore it once, it would have been worn more than this. So, but I want to turn it into a top. I just feel like all of my hard work deserves to be worn as a garment. So I want to work on that. But yeah, it took quite a bit of unpicking. There are fish eye darts in the back, and I had again top stitched these details over certain sections, so I had to go and remove the top stitching on here, removed the fish eye darts not only on the main fabric but on the lining fabric, and it had a zipper, so I unpicked the zipper. Whew. But all of it is done. It is free. Because I did sort of like a high-low effect, you can see it dips up in the center front. I'm trying to work out how, like what kind of top am I making? What is it gonna look like? But a big job is done. Getting this thing unpicked would have really stopped me in my tracks, so I'm happy that I was able to commit some time to doing that, and we shall see this spring summer what this gets turned into. But I am looking forward to taking you along for the ride. As always, stay creative, my friends, and I'll check in next time so you can find out what Tima made. Bye. I just want to say my office was actually quite clean and neat before I recorded this video, and now in order to like show all of the things when you're actually trying to record a video, it's crazy. Crazy. Oh, now I have to put this place back together.